Welcome back, everyone. Now, as promised, we are going to be visiting the Spasm Playground, and this is kind of like the sandbox map that DIGSITE released alongside their Macworld build. So, why don't we explore this place, this lovely environment? And already you can tell that they've got all this stuff set up. It's really nicely set up. These vehicles. Those guys over there are actual enemies, so they'll attack me in a minute. But minigun. Oh crap! Yeah, I didn't want to start the game and like leave it like that because apparently they'll attack those guys. So I guess those count as NPCs, because you can kill them. Those count too, but they're like static. They're just for show. But they'll go out and attack them, but I didn't want to do that, because I didn't want to ruin it. But yeah, so these are some of the... This is one of the cut enemies for the first game. They had a lot of stuff they cut out for the first Halo game. And Halo's development was really interesting, because it started in, I think, 1998? And it started out as, funnily enough, an RTS, a real-time strategy, and I think it was just titled. Halo, and then it evolved into a third-person shooter in like 1999, and then in 2001, it obviously became a first-person shooter. But you can already tell, I don't know how much. Obviously, this isn't all the cut content, because some of it wasn't built for this. But, and also, if you've seen some of the promotional images and whatnot that are on Google for the particular 1999 build of Halo, like, these vehicles are different. These are the 2000 versions. These are from the E3. This one is too, I think. The wheels are a bit off on this one, because if you take a look, the textures are different, but these ones are solid. So I think they just reskinned this one, possibly. But yeah, you got all this really cool stuff. These tanks here, these were different. Like, I think they still had the Scorpion, but these were really cool. These are. Hold on, let me get this. Come on. See, this one doesn't have the coaxial machine gun, so when you right click, it doesn't do anything. But it does do that. I really like the profile. It's nice, and I find it interesting that it comes in two different color schemes. That's probably more of like a snow sort of color scheme. They have the same function. There's literally no difference between these two. They both, it's just the color scheme. Moves the same, shoots the same. But yeah, these are pretty cool. And also, actually, hold on, let me get back in here. I want to show you something. Something that the Scorpion doesn't really do, but this one does, and I think it's more because the way the Scorpion treads are. But this one, if you actually pay attention to the bottom, I'll try and angle it so you can see it. But like the way the tracks move around on terrain and stuff, like you can tell it bounces. Again, it's hard to tell because of the angle, but you can see like it bounces with the terrain as like mock suspension, which is pretty awesome. And then I kind of ignored this guy right here. But yeah, these are the cut, some more of those cut enemies, and these are actually the same. These are like the same species as hunters, and they're supposed to be like long range guys. Light, nimble, quick. They're a pain to deal with. I've played mods with these guys included. They're not irritating, but they are kind of like a mild annoyance. But they are definitely add some variety. This thing used to have this game had a bit more enemy variety. And then there's the Kestrel. This was the only. This is essentially the counter to the Banshee. It's got the main machine gun fire, the missiles, or rockets, I suppose. Missiles would be a bit different, but yeah, it's a pretty pretty neat, and you can hear it uses the same flight sounds as the Pelican. I think they're pitched a bit differently, but you can definitely hear it. That hum in the background, though, is actually a Pelican and a Spirit. I'm not quite sure why this one is like this. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. I swear there was one time where the prongs were separate, but this could just be what it used to look like. But you can actually fly these. At least you can fly that one. We'll try a second. I don't know if you can fly this one. I never tried. Yeah, I don't think you can fly this one. Yeah, no, you can't fly that. If you could, I don't know how you do it. But over here, you can fly this one. And this actually, if you take a look at this is if you have elite ball knowledge, you'll know that this is from the E3 2000 promo for Halo, and it's that build with the, you know, when Master Chief had that weird voice, the more robotic one. You can tell the interior definitely lower quality. It still does have those health packs there, as it does in the traditional Pelicans, and on the side you can still see Marines and then the number on it. And then there's the machine gun. For some reason, the machine gun is like parked like that. I don't know why it faces backwards. Some mods fix it and it'll face forward. Some will just add a completely different machine gun. And if you actually look at the CE model, the retail model of this, I believe the machine gun is actually still there, and it's like tucked up into the chin because it's retractable. And the only way to drive this is, yeah, you have to do that. But yeah, you can fly this thing. It doesn't have a secondary fire, but it does have, again, that machine gun. I can't exactly tell if it's facing forward. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's facing forward, but yeah, it has that machine gun. Yeah, this thing will actually hover. So it's a bit different than the other vehicles where it'll actually just sit there. You don't have to hold a button. But if you press space and control, it'll go up and down. So it has a bit different controls than the other flying vehicles, but I kind of like that. I actually flew to the edge of the map once. I flew all the way over. Yeah, I had a decent amount of fun flying this thing around. It would be, I kind of wish they did, you know, place enemies around the map still, so that way you could like fly these things around and kill them. And I know you had those three over there, but it's not the same. Ow, there goes my shield. But yeah, that's something you can do. And actually, fun fact about those big guys over there is they were actually supposed to be in Halo 2 as well, but they got cut from there, so those guys don't really have a good history. This, some of you might actually recognize. It's the Spectre. This is essentially I believe they reused the design in Halo 2. And I think in Reach in particular had it's the one from Reach. No, not the one from Reach. The one from Reach is different. The one from Halo 2 is more like this. It's slightly different design. That one is. The turret's a bit different. It's closer to the Halo. It's obviously the Halo 2 plasma turret, but this one is. It has 3 seats. Yeah, it's got the one in the front. It's got the driver's seat. It's got the turret. I'm not sure the projectile is like this though. That's curious. But it's not bad. I kind of like it. One thing one nitpick I have about this vehicle is I know it's based off of the shade turret, so it floats, but I don't like how high it floats. And I don't know if that has to do with the way it just is, or if the vehicle itself... I don't know the anatomy of it, but this is a pretty decent vehicle. And then this, you'll definitely recognize this. This is also reused in Halo 2. Definitely, again, a different design. Because in Halo 2, and what is this? This is the Shade? Shadow. This is the Shadow. But yeah, in Halo 2, this is a bit more of a troop carrier in this one, this version, because it's got the seats on the sides and then the turret in the back. But in Halo 2, they hollowed this out, and I actually think it's longer in Halo 2 as well, but they hollowed it out, and you can stick a ghost in there. It's got sort of a bridge on top. So some of the content from the first game did make it into the second one, or was going to in that guy's case. But yeah, the vehicles pretty much have the same properties. That's obviously troop transport. You know, you've got the minigun. And actually, fun fact, and I think the only mod that actually displays that is, there's a mod, what's it called? It's the pre-Xbox Macworld build. And so somebody like took a whole bunch of assets from that were cut, they stuck them in the game, and I actually think they programmed, they had to like reprogram some stuff. Again, I'm not a developer, I don't know how that stuff works. But this thing here is actually a seat. So what's supposed to happen is the person actually sits down and operates the turret, but you can see right here it just has the standard turret animation for just standing up. But yeah, in that particular mod, they'll actually have the person sit down in there. And this one, this is the Rocket Hog, and again, it's got that little seat, and you can actually see it's got the rotating magazine, and it fires a couple more rockets. But they actually, if you recognize this design, that's because if you actually pay attention, it is very much similar to the railgun, to the Gauss cannon that they put in Halo 2. So as you can tell, a lot of stuff that didn't make it into the first game, they did reuse, because those three designs in particular. And obviously that one didn't make it into 2, but it did make it into Halo 3. And these just didn't make it at all. But I really do like them. It's a cool design. And over here you got your sort of Spartan models. Now these aren't the all of them. There are actually a couple earlier versions that are not here particularly because they're for the RTS build of Halo. So obviously you can't include them, but first you got these guys. These are like the first iterations, and I kind of like these a bit because they give off sort of like this, you could definitely get like a gritty sci-fi vibe off of these guys, with the way their armor's textured and some of the color schemes and just the design in general. It definitely looks like they were pulled straight out of like an 80s sci-fi movie. I'm not, this is not really a huge nitpick, but I do find it curious that they didn't, of why they're, you know, in the order, placed in the order that they're in. But, then obviously of these guys, this is my favorite. This is my favorite model. Like, I really love the design. It's really cool. And I actually I prefer the retail animations, because the animations, if you watch the trailers, the animations for these Spartans are actually a bit different than the retail version. But I do like the retail animations on the Macworld Spartans. It looks really cool. And then this guy over here, I'm not actually sure which version this guy's from. I know it's based off of this one. And this is the E3 2000 model. You can definitely see it has, interestingly, it has sort of that same, it's like pearlescent, I want to say. It's like kind of like pearlescent. This kind of has it, this to a greater extent. But it does have an interesting shine to it. I like the antenna sticking out. That really is a nice touch. I kind of like it. I do a little bit. I kind of wish they kept it in there, just because it looks real nice. I love that little antenna poking out of there. This one, I think maybe this one is it doesn't look like it looks a little lower poly, so it might be an earlier, and you can tell the color schemes are a bit different. Like there's blue on the back area, but not on this one. I mean, you can see it like right there, but it's not like on the back. So it is kind of cool. Again, this one might just be an earlier version of that, and this one actually came before these two. This is from the Macworld 2000, and Macworld 2000 came before E3. But yeah, this is, again, I do like this design too. I tend to, I don't know why, I just love the earlier builds of Chief's model as opposed, I'm not saying the one we got is bad, by no means. And because again, Halo Combat Evolved is my favorite Halo game, but that's more because I'm a sucker for older games. But yeah, I like the armor on this one. It's, especially this back area here is very unique. I like the nice little shroud that sticks out, and you got this, I believe, is a sheath for the sword. But yeah, it's a nice model, and it's cool to see how the design changed over time into what we know now. And these are all the weapons. Actually, let me go over the enemies first. I already went over those two, but this is what the elites originally looked like, and you can tell it's much different because they also have mouths. I know they have mouths now, but they don't have they're like regular mouths. And this design is kind of cool. Definitely, again, has that sort of 80s sci-fi look to it. But yeah, it's a real neat design. Now to the weapons. So obviously we have the rifle, and this particular version of the rifle was made for DIGSITE. And a lot of these weapons, the versions of these weapons, like these ones up front here, were made specifically for DIGSITE. Because and actually over here, this is what it originally was. This is the lower poly third-person model. Because again, Halo, before it was an FPS, it was a third-person shooter. So a lot of the weapons for this thing, DIGSITE had to recode them, retexture them in order to fit them into first person. And this is obviously for comparison. This is the standard assault rifle. Again, I love the bongo sound, the angry, aggressive bongos. And I like that they kept it too for this. And this is the one from Macworld 2000 or E3. I think it was E3. Yeah, this is the E3. I remember. I like that sound too. That's a good sound too. That is slightly more honestly, the sound on this one is slightly more satisfying than the sound in retail. It sounds like I'm gonna cut you off. And just check out that rate of fire. Oh, I love that so much. Let's see. Then we had the flamethrower. I thought there were two versions of the flamethrower. There was this one, which is the 1999 model, and then there was a different model from 1999, an earlier one that didn't have this sort of that didn't have, see this green canister on the bottom? It didn't have that, and the handle was a bit different, but and you can tell the sound it uses is, I don't mind it. It's not a bad sound, but it doesn't sound like a flamethrower like this does. I prefer this sound. I do like and although this was only a multiplayer, I do like the sound a bit more. And then obviously your Covenant weapons, your UNSC weapons here, the SMG. And then this one, interestingly, this doesn't have the traditional, because in the DIGSITE Macworld build we played yesterday, you could throw grenades. On this one, you can't. Instead, it has it has a burst mode, which is pretty cool. And I think, again, I think it's a difference of, like, accuracy, so this is more for, like, up close fire than the burst is for, like, mid-range engagements. So that's pretty neat. And then, this one. No, this is the gravity wrench. I was going for the rifle, but we got the gravity wrench instead. And this is one of the earlier cut Covenant weapons. But as you can see, it's basically an explosive. You hold it, launch it, explodes. Pretty self-explanatory. I think it was called the gravity wrench. I don't know. I am curious as to why it's called the gravity wrench, because the way it behaves is a bit different. There is a mod in particular that takes the gravity weapons and actually gives them gravity-based purposes. This one, it's just kind of like, it behaves more like the fuel rod cannon, except it's, I suppose, a more precise version. And also, you can't see it here, and I don't think if you look at the shadow there, I don't think the prongs are supposed to, like, open up as it charges, and then it pinches together to release it. I've seen it in some pictures with him holding it. Then the energy sword. The energy sword was originally going to be, I think, a usable weapon. I don't know why it does that. I'm not clicking anything. But, like, if you one of the odd things about the third-person weapons is sometimes, and I've seen it more in the mods, like, hold on. Yeah, because now it doesn't want to do it now that I'm recording a video. Yeah, and I think it might be just when you're walking. Yeah, see, look, I'm not touching the mouse. I'm just walking forward. So I think it's just a walking forward bug. But yeah, it'll keep swinging. It'll play the animation for some reason. I don't know why. But it is interesting to see. Alright, what's next? That's right, this. And this is the rifle we saw the Spartans pull up with in the dropship at the end of the mod. It's got a different firing sound. The aesthetic is definitely a sleeker look as opposed to the... And I'm not saying that isn't sleek, but it definitely did get a bit stubbier until it evolved into the MA5B. But I do like this look. This one's got a grenade launcher too. But it's definitely a cool weapon. And then this is the Old Faithful. I never actually noticed that. This is a grenade launcher. But originally, I believe this was originally the assault rifle in the early RTS, when this was an RTS. Because it was the rifle for the those low poly Spartans. So, I don't know why it's a grenade launcher here. It might have morphed into a grenade launcher for the third person, version, but as you can see, like, you got it here. This one I have in my hand, I think, is lower poly. Let's get rid of that. Microwave gun? Okay, yeah, but if you take a look here, this is low poly. This is, I believe, the 1998 rifle, and if you actually, yeah, this is obviously a newer version, but if you look at it closely, it does have the same sort of profile as the rifles, so... I believe that's what it was. So again, it is interesting to see it to be presented as a grenade launcher. So again, that might be what it ended up becoming before it was completely scrapped. Microwave rifle. It's curious. I don't think I've tested this one. I think this is just meant to be a precision weapon. But it's a really funny gun. The earlier Covenant weapons were definitely a lot more exotic than they ended up becoming. And then this is the concussion gun. It's basically another grenade launcher. I think. No, it's a shotgun. I think? I'm not quite sure what it is. It definitely has a shotgun-esque sound. But I think it was originally a grenade launcher. And then the flak cannon. This is just the fuel rod cannon. And I think the DIGSITE team actually does update this mod quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit. I think they update it every once in a while, because some of these weapons are not just different from the last time I played this, but they also have different properties. Like, this was originally just the fuel rod cannon, but as you can tell, it's more of a grenade launcher. But yeah, it definitely has that, and they definitely reused this look for the Halo 2. In Halo 2, this look returns for the fuel rod gun, which I always found that interesting, that the content from the first game ended up being reused or redesigned for Halo 2. And I think that's pretty cool, because it definitely gives you, it's a nice second life for these pretty cool weapons and designs that we never got to see in their original form. Until now, obviously. And then shotguns. This is the excavator, which is an interesting name for a shotgun. But yeah, you can tell it's clearly a shotgun. Then here's the gravity rifle. Sniper rod. Interesting. Yeah, this is just a sniper rifle. This is typically how it behaves. And I believe it was originally called the gravity rifle. And then obviously you have, oh, that's not what I want. I wanted this. This is the Lamprey Sub-Ed. It's basically an explosive torpedo launcher. Oh, it bounced. I think it needs time to arm. Yeah, see, it explodes. And then I think the only difference between these is color. I believe they have the same properties. Yeah, it's the same thing, just a different color. And that's what some of these weapons really are, is just a redesign or just sort of an evolved version of the original product. Because they didn't really change much other than the design on some of these. But you can definitely tell the weapon sandbox was a lot bigger than it used to be. And it kind of shrunk over time. And this is, again, a marksman rifle. And this is typically the go-to marksman rifle people use in their CE mods when they add the cut content. Alright, shotguns. Let's take a look at the shotguns. This is the E399 model. And this one is actually semi-auto. And I think they're all semi-auto up until the retail version. Yeah, so this is the difference between this one, the E3 and the Macworld 99 model, is just color scheme. This is the I think this is the Macworld 2000 model, and the only thing it does is it just removes the stock, and then you get to this is the E3 2000 model. This one is pump. And you can tell this one gets closer to the retail model, and it doesn't, it's lower poly, it's a bit, I think it's shorter actually, but you can tell it doesn't have the flashlight, the sights on it, so it's fun to see how these designs evolve. And in this case, interestingly enough, the pistol was the same originally, and then it briefly turned into this, and then they gave it, this is the E3, that's the Macworld 2000, this is the E3 2000, and then obviously we get this. So it does, there are really only two variations, but yeah, it's the same thing. It's just a precision weapon. It's a pocket magnum. It's a pocket sniper, basically. It always was. Rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is curious because it only has two forms. It has this one, and I think they're both Macworld models. And this is obviously that 2-barreled rocket launcher. You can tell it's the same. And then this one is meant to be more of a surface. It's a SAM. It's a surface-to-air missile launcher. But it's just a single. In this case, it's a single-shot rocket launcher. And again, I keep talking about this mod. It's the what's it called? I have it. It's the Mercury Rising. That's it. It's Mercury Rising. I think it's called Mercury Rising 2. But they do, that one takes a lot of these cut weapons, like it takes the gravity gun and gives it those the gravity weapons and gives them gravitational properties. Like if you shoot somebody with the gravity rifle will you shoot somebody, they'll float up into the air, and the gravity wrench, you can actually lift people if you keep your cursor on them and drop them. And the SAM acts like a surface-to-air missile launcher instead of a rocket launcher. You can actually track a target. I'll have to play that sometime. Not today, but so I think definitely the best part about the cut content is seeing how people implement it into their mods. And then here, the swords. So this one's curved, and this is the first version of the sword, I believe. And you can tell it's curved. It's got that curved shape, and I think this is ultimately served as the inspiration for Emil's knife in Reach. It has that same curve to it. And then you get the other version. There are only 2 versions of the sword, and you get the straight blade that you're familiar with, the one that's used in the difficulty logos. So those are the melee weapons are surprisingly sparse. But then there's the fuel rod gun. I think this is this low poly model. Oddly enough, this is the same model they use for the NPCs. Is the low poly version. The high poly version was created specifically for multiplayer. And then the plasma rifle. Now, the plasma rifle is, I believe, the only weapon that that's design remained consistent throughout its entire inception. Like, the whole time, it had the same shape and the same properties. And you can tell the design just changes a bit. It just gets higher and higher poly. And then the SMG's back here. This is actually, I believe, this particular model is from the... Oh, I love that. That's so satisfying. But yeah, this one is from the E3 build of Halo, and I think this is actually from when it was still an RTS. Maybe, because the Spartan model that this one goes with is not here. But I don't know everything. And then this is the E3 2001. It definitely has the same shape. It is the same general shape as this one. It has that sort of profile, except the magazine sticks out of the bottom instead of, and let me actually, the magazine, you can see the magazine sticks out of the bottom instead of the side, but it still has the same shape. And it's a really cool design. I like these designs. They're super sweet. I kind of like it. I like it a little better than the Halo 2 one, just because, I don't know, there's something about actually gripping that. I don't know, the caseless magazine just seemed weird to me. It's still cool. Don't get me wrong. I do like it, but I don't know. Something about this just really tickles that itch. Sniper rifles were vastly different. So as you can see, this is a single-shot weapon. And then, obviously, it just gets a higher poly model. The sound is the same. And then you get to this version, which, this is the one they used. This was the one we used in the last video with the bolt action, which I'm not sure why it doesn't have a first-person model here. That is interesting. And then, obviously, the retail sniper rifle. 4 rounds, with night vision. I don't know if the other ones had night vision. Probably because it was in third person, so you didn't need night vision. But it's a cool feature. It's really only used, the night vision is really only used in one level, and that's Truth and Reconciliation. I don't even think you need it, the night vision, to be honest. But I guess it depends on your playstyle. But that's pretty much all the weapons that are piled up here. So really interesting to see all that. So yeah, it's really cool to see the evolution of Halo, and especially in its earlier days, and especially how, like I said before, and I keep repeating it, but some of the cut content and how it evolved and was put back in the game. Oh, I forgot about this. Something else that was pretty consistent Bungie kept trying to do was add water physics to their games. And there was this little jet ski thing. I don't know if it's going... No, this thing's always been this slow. I remember because I once brought it out there and it was still slow. So I don't think it has anything to do with being on the ground. Plus, there are mods that make it faster when they implement this vehicle. But Bungie always wanted to add water effects, the water combat vehicles to their games, but they could never quite get it right. And this is something they pursued all the way up until Halo Reach, because there was originally meant to be in Reach entire levels designed around water and boats, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, it's really interesting to look at all this and see what kind of content we missed out on, and this is only really a taste of it. There's a lot more stuff like wildlife and, you know, and other assets that aren't present here. But it really is, honestly, really is, I don't know if DIGSITE's still going on, but it is a shit. I know after the leak, there was, I think they kind of slowed down a bit, but it's definitely a shame. If they have stopped, it is a shame, because all this content is really cool. And I don't mind being drip-fed this kind of stuff, because it keeps that intrigue going. And honestly, I would actually be really cool to see like actual builds of, you know, Halo, like redesigning old levels or designing levels based off the old aesthetics like this, because I don't think they had a full build of Halo. I think this test demo, this island, was all they had. But yeah, so as you can tell, I'm a sucker for cut content. I love cut content. It's so cool, especially in the older games, because it's so cool to see what these games could have been, and what we could have had. Because a lot of these features, like I said, a lot of these things are really cool and they're really awesome, and it is a shame that we didn't get to see a lot of it, but what we did get was still really cool. And I mean, the popularity of Halo, at least in the early days, really does speak for itself. But I do think some of these features really would have made the game a lot cooler than what it was. And again, I'm not saying that it sucked. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm not saying it was lesser because of this. It's like, the best way I can describe it is like ice cream. Like Combat Evolved, it's like your favorite ice cream flavor. It's really good. It's a classic. You'll always love it. But like these little bits and pieces are like sprinkles and like all the toppings you can throw on there that make it a lot better. So yeah, it's just cool to see all this stuff. And I will in the future be playing mods that do bring this stuff sort of back to life in really cool ways. So you are going to be seeing a lot of the CE campaign in the future. First, we're going to start with the base game, though, just to get our feet wet, and that will be next time's video. So this is already about 40 minutes. This is approaching 40 minutes, so my first two videos have been pretty long. So if you have a great attention span, congratulations, you made it to the end, and you can suffer no more. But thank you for sticking around, and I will see you guys next time.